Hey everybody, Andy Teague here again with along my good buddy Brian Bretsch, Bird Brain 66, here to talk to you today about the 1996 Fleer set. 660 cards in this set, very cool set, different feel to the cards. If when you actually touch them, because I don't know exactly what kind of card stock that is, but really different uh, look about them. Kind of a grainy look on the photos, kind of maybe an old school look. I do actually like this set. A lot of interesting players. Very another transition year for the Cardinals. That year we got Hall of Famer Tony La Russa coming in and taking the helm at that time and leading the Cardinals to the first place finish in the Central. And like you said, great players, great card set, and great photos. Brian, what's your impressions of this particular set?
Good call on right out of the chute on with the holding up the local guy Bernard Gilkey did that at the top of the show here. But yeah, there's a really cool. Love Brian Jordan. We need to talk about him in just a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something really nice about it. And I love it when you turn the card, and see the back of it. Boom, boom, right there.
Yeah.
I like the additional photo right here.
Yes.
Kind of like a different action shot or a different portrait of the guy. So I would say that in this particular set, Fleer definitely brought their A game. The only thing that I would kind of be a little bit of a downer on, I love John Mabry, is the
Secret
player name
weapon.
in the gold color or whatever is a little bit difficult to read, but overall, yeah, that transition, like you talked about, the Cardinals are making a lot of moves with Tom Hankey being in there. I love Tom Pagnozzi, Tony Fossis. That really
Oh
showed
yeah.
us back in the day when La Russa really wanted to work the bullpen. Great card of Ozzie. He always wanted to have that left-handed specialist, and Tony
Yep.
Fossis was kind of the first. Everybody made fun of the Cardinal organization for bringing Fossis in just because of his
Yeah.
age, but his sole purpose was to do his job, get the lefties out. And since I'm talking about him, here's Tony right here.
Yeah. And staff leader in wins, Dennis here.
Mm-hmm.
Here. Great pitcher.
Yep. And by the way, a little quick self-promotion here. Andy Bennis is one of our good followers on Twitter who jumps in quite a bit at BirdBrain66 and puts comments in about, especially when we do highlight players from this particular 96 team. He's made some comments. Boom,
Always
boom.
loved him. Always loved him as a Cardinal. So yeah.
So, the other cool thing about it, not only did we have the local guy, Bernard Gilkey on the team, here's another one of my favorites, TJ Matthews, great guy there.
I'm actually going to hold up two cards real quick because remember there's a controversy with these two individuals during that time frame.
Yep.
And caused a great strain in Ozzie's relationship with the Cardinals. Bringing Royce Clayton in and him coming over and starting over Ozzie, which many of us did not agree with. Ozzie gave us a lot of great years and, still at the top of his game, at that time. I guess maybe Tony felt that Royce was better offensively, but I don't think, but nobody matched Ozzie with the glove. It just didn't happen. So just thought I want to bring that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Willie, anytime you can get a Willie McGee card in a card set too. Just Willie, another great Cardinal and Willie, another one of those guys that had left the Cardinals and came back to the Cardinals, and that's happened many a time over the years. And I always like to see that. And we were fortunate enough to get this guy holding down the anchor at third base.
Another technically a local guy from Centralia.
Yeah.
Big love theory guy, Eddie.
And you got in the bullpen here, we had Eck, and he's winking at you in the card. So if you can't tell.
This is another local guy. I keep forgetting 4 local guys on the team at one time was kind of cool. Scott Cooper.
Yeah. Especially as we kind of get, transitioning out of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, because, it seemed like you always had more local players, in the past and on a lot of teams. And here's your '96 home run leader for the team, Mr. Ron Gant. Had a great outfield, during that
Yeah.
frame.
And he was built like a football player, like
Well,
Brian
him
Jordan.
and Brian Jordan. I mean, come on now. I mean, and then
Yeah.
I think you mentioned we mentioned Todd Steinmeier a lot. Another great arm on the road.
Three-time World Series champion, Todd Steinmeier. You don't hear many people have that tag, that title. But yeah, Todd's another great guy who follows us quite a bit on Twitter as well. Hey, hold up that Brian Jordan card again. I don't know if I had pulled mine out. I'm
looking for it. There we go. Got it right here.
Yeah. So, we always hear people, the great Deion Sanders conversation, the great Bo Jackson conversation, but this guy needs to have some props too.
I know. I know.
Two-way player, great two-way player. And he never comes up in that conversation because, Bo was just a beast. You got to see him quite a bit when you were in the Air Force, living in the Kansas City area at Whiteman. But and I got to see him a couple of times when I came out to visit you. I think I remember hitting an inside the park home run once, and it was just a joy to watch him. I always loved watching him and Willie McGee run, just because it was just incredible. And Bo's raw power. Then you had Deion with all of his flashiness, with everything that he did on the football field. Not as great, but Brian Jordan was just, a pro. I mean, bottom line, was a pro both on the football field and on the baseball field. He had a great career with the Falcons, and before the Cardinals finally signed him to become a full-time player. But I just always have been a Brian Jordan fan. A little bit of history. I actually covered the '96 NLS championship series for United Press International, and the two guys who impressed me the most was Brian Jordan and Ron Gant. Just thought the world of those two. Never knew. I mean, never. I'm not the regular scribe that's in there. I'm an emergency replacement for somebody, and they couldn't have treated me any better with post game comments. So just always had great feelings for both guys.
Yeah. While we're talking about props, another guy who never gets enough mention is Tom Pagnozzi. I mean, this guy held down the Cardinal staff kind of like Yachty, obviously not as long as Yachty had, and not had quite the career that Yachty had, but still a fabulous catcher, for the Cardinals. And that's kind of goes in that tradition the Cardinals had with a number of catchers over the years. These guys that, really work the staff really well. So, yeah.
Look at the back of that card, though, real quickly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right.
I don't know that off the top of my head. Well, I'm thinking that he was a catcher for us for about 13 or 14 years. So, I mean, he had
a good run.
It was a great run. So, one of the things that when we talk about this, trying to personalize all of this, I love all the local players. There's just some great guys. When you showed Todd Steinmeier, we also got Donovan Osborne in here, which, it has just a great name. I mean, he was named after a rock, two rock and rollers, after his parents knew that his last name was Osborne, and they were great fans of the artist Donovan. So that's actually who he was named after. But, we talked a lot about our childhood of collecting, but, 96, we're definitely no longer in our childhood. I'm, been married for a couple of years now. Where were you at in 96, and where were you coming up with your cards?
Well, in 96, I was a little over halfway through my Air Force career, and I was actually stationed in Grand Forks Air Force Base, North Dakota. Very cold there during the wintertime, but that's where I was at. And I was not married at the time. So that's where I was at in my life. And then you talked about collecting cards. And during that time frame is kind of the junk wax era still going on during that period of time. So getting cards was actually not difficult. Don't remember before eBay and some of these online auction sites and things, but there used to be a number of card shops, like any town that you went to, even smaller towns. And I remember they had 3 that were in Grand Forks at the time. So it really wasn't difficult. and you didn't have as many cards coming out as you did if we're probably in the 2000s. So it wasn't too bad because once you went to one of the card shops and you got to know the dealers and stuff, and I would just they knew I was a Cardinal guy. So as soon as they would open packs and start, putting sets together or putting things together, they would put sets together for me. So that was never an issue for me to find anything in case there was an insert or something. Because we had that's kind of the time you get an insert here and there on some things too. And so, yeah, I never really had any issue with that back, even throughout some of my travels, except when I was overseas, obviously. But no issues there.
Isn't that cool though? I mean, being able to go into a shop in North Dakota, and I'm lucky here where I'm at. The guy that I have bought this stuff from in '96 is still in business. He's one of them that's managed to survive. So I'm always going into his shop buying books or plastic sheets. Books meaning the binders, buying odd cards here and there. I bought a lot of my old stuff there, but kind of cool story though, Andy, that you're in North Dakota and you're kind of known as the Cardinal guy, and they save stuff. Now where I'm at, I was always fighting tooth and nail. So I would always have Randy at the shop. He knew that I was a regular customer, and I would say, hey, I'm putting together the '96 team set. Or sometimes he would just go ahead and pull a couple of and make his own team set, which was smart for him. And then he'd ask him, and sometimes behind the counter for his regulars like me, he would already have a team set pulled, and he would charge me a decent price. I don't know how often that happens anymore. Like you said, because of eBay, you can certainly buy team sets there, but before, like you were saying, before there was an eBay, you just kind of got to know your local.
Yeah, your good relationship building. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So during that time too, later in that year, is listening to Van Halen. I want to throw out a Van Halen reference because that's when the best of CD/album, whatever you want to call it, at that particular time came out, and want to give props to Humans Being on that album. Great song. And the unique thing about that particular album that I wanted to mention, you had both David Lee Roth with two original songs and Sammy with an original song on there as well, because they, again, like the Cardinals, they were in transition between lead singers at that time, and they thought that Roth was going to come back into the band, and he had the infamous meltdown at the MTV Awards. And then we switched to Gary Cherone with the lineup in Van Halen, and the rest is history on that. But I thought we'd get some props. Always got to give some Van Halen props when we can.
Absolutely. And, the song Humans Being was featured in the movie Twister too. So I love that mean sounding guitar riff by Eddie in there. And if my reference to that is, I think because that was the transition period, I don't think they recorded that together. I think Sammy was in one part of the studio and Eddie was probably, at his house recording, but they definitely were not recording that in the same recording studio because of the riff. So we'll leave it at that. But yeah, transitioning back to the Cardinals, I got one more guy that I always, I don't know if I give him props or what I do, but
Tripp, yeah.
Tripp Kromer, God love him, maybe decent defensively, couldn't hit. I know that part of the reason why he did get his call up, his dad was a longtime member of the Cardinal organization. I can't remember if his dad was just, behind the scenes guy in the front office, but if my memory serves me, I think his dad may have been a scout for him. But I was always cracking up when Tripp Kromer would get put into the game. And I think once Tony got there, they kind of cut the ties with Tripp in the favor. No knock against Tripp whatsoever. Hey, he played in the major league. I didn't, but it was just always cracked me up when you'd see this guy come up in early April to get a little dabble or as a September call up. But anyway, I love the '96 set. So
I'm gonna throw in an alibi in this show.
Okay.
So I want to throw in one on Gary Cherone. So any way, shape, or form, am I blasting Gary Cherone for anything that guys he got incredible pipes, can sing, beautiful singer, wonderful singer and everything. So it's just one of those things that for whatever reason that collaboration did not go well with the fan base, and I mean, so I just want to say that wasn't blasting Gary Sharon at all. It was just that period of time for Van Halen was very crazy and difficult, and especially for the fans. So no knock on him. Just throwing that out. Just like Tripp, no knock on him.
That's cool. Anybody else you want to showcase before we wrap up? I think we covered everybody.
Well, hey, you mentioned Donovan Osborne, right? So if for some reason I'm drawing a blank about his name, his parents naming him because of Donovan. So I'll throw out one music reference here real quick about Donovan. He was in the recording studio same time Alice Cooper was in the recording studio on $1 Billion Babies. So he's doing the voiceover on $1 Billion Babies for Alice Cooper. So thought I'd just throw that out there for a little musical history since you mentioned that.
Cool. No, that's awesome. All right, everybody. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap up. As you can see, we talked cards. We're getting into a little bit of music. And if you can't tell, Andy and I are huge VH fans. So we'll probably be throwing lots of references in there about Sammy, Dave, Michael Anthony, and Alex and Eddie. Every once in a blue moon, maybe even Gary. So who knows? And should we give a little love to did he go by Jan, the dad? Because doesn't Jan in one of the early Van Halen
Diver Down?
Yeah,
he plays. Yeah.
So
I believe it's a clarinet on Diver Down.
Yeah. Yep.
That Bill, Sweet William Now. There you go.
Yep. Love that song. All righty, everybody. Thanks for joining us. You can find Andy and I all over the place. You're obviously finding us here on our YouTube channel, BirdBrain66. Please consider subscribing to that. It's free. We have guests from time to time. We talk about all kinds of fun stuff. We've got a ton of guests lined up. It's just trying to get our schedules and their schedules to mesh so we can make that happen. But BirdBrain66 on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook at BirdBrain66 and our Twitter handle, or you can call it Twitter, like I just said, our Twitter handle at BirdBrain66. So peace. Glad you were able to join us.
Thanks again, everybody.
Yep. Take care.